Margaret Walker, and today I signed the papers that finally made me a free woman. 3 years of legal battles, accusations, and lies. And it all came down to a signature on a dotted line in some stuffy Anaheim courthouse. You sure about this, Maggie? My lawyer shuffled the papers nervously. Dead sure Andrew sat across the table, his brown eyes avoiding mine. 10 years of marriage, and I just discovered he'd been screwing his secretary for half of it. The forensic bodist in me should have seen the signs earlier. After all, I spend my days analyzing plant evidence at crime scenes, looking for clues others miss. The house goes to him. The lawyer continued. You get the botanical lab equipment and your consulting practice. I nodded. Let Andrew keep the suburban prison. I'd rather have my microscopes and plant specimens anyway. At least they never lied to me. Walking out of that courthouse felt like stepping into sunlight after years underground. The crisp spring air in downtown Anaheim hit my lungs, and for the first time in months I could actually breathe. My new apartment was a joke compared to the house, but it was mine boxes everywhere, my precious botanical reference book stacked against bare walls. The place smelled like fresh paint. And possibilities, ma'am. Where do you want these microscopes? The mover wiped sweat from his forehead. Living room for now. Yeah, I was going to live with crime scene equipment as furniture. Classy. 2 weeks later, I was wandering through downtown with my camera trying to clear my head. The community center had announced a photography contest, and something about capturing beauty in unexpected places appealed to me. Maybe it was because I spent my days photographing death. I found myself at an old crime scene I'd worked months ago. Yellow tape was long gone, but the flowers I documented were still there. Wild poppies growing through cracked concrete, their bright orange petals defiant against urban decay. Life finds a way, I whispered, adjusting my camera lens. The shot was perfect. Delicate petals, catching afternoon light, contrasting against the harsh concrete where someone had lost their life. Beauty and tragedy intertwined just like everything else in this damn world. 3 days before the contest deadline, I had my series ready. 7 photographs of flowers found at crime scenes, each one telling a story of resilience. The contest theme was hidden, beauty, and I figured nothing was more hidden than hope blooming. In places touched by violence, the exhibition opening was packed. Local artists, weekend photographers, curious neighbors. I stood next to my display, nursing a plastic cup of cheap wine and watching people react to my work. These are powerful. I turned to find a blonde woman studying my photographs intently. She was tall, athletic build, wearing a simple black dress that somehow made her blue eyes more striking. There was something about the way she moved that suggested authority, confidence. I'm Margaret Penelope. Her handshake was firm. Direct. You work in forensics, botanical forensics, you homicide detective. She smiled, and something shifted in my chest. I actually recognized this location. Worked that case 6 months ago. We talked for 20 minutes about crime scenes, photography, and the strange beauty found in dark places when they announced the winners. My series took first place, Penelope's Urban Decay. Photographs 1 second. Congratulations, she said as I returned from accepting my ribbon. You too. Your work is incredible. Coffee. Sometime. I'd love to hear more about botanical forensics. I hesitated. Was she asking professionally or personally? Did it matter? Sure, I'd like that. As she handed me her card, our fingers brushed briefly. Such a simple contact, but it sent an unexpected jolt through me. I watched her walk away, noting the confident stride the way other people instinctively stepped aside, standing there with my first place ribbon and her phone number. I realized something had shifted for the first time since my divorce. I wasn't thinking about Andrew or the wreckage of my marriage. I was thinking about tomorrow and the possibility of something new. 3 days after the exhibition, I still had Penelope's card pinned to my refrigerator. Detective Penelope Morris, Anaheim PD. Every time I grabbed coffee there, it was reminding me of blue eyes and that unexpected jolt when our fingers touched. I'd been working late again, analyzing pollen samples from a recent case, when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. This is Margaret. Hi, It's Penelope from the photography contest. My stomach did something weird. Oh, hey. I was wondering if you're free for coffee tomorrow. There's actually something I wanted to discuss. With you, professional or personal? I couldn't tell from her tone. Sure, where that little place on Harbor Boulevard, say 2N1. The next afternoon I arrived 15 minutes early and ordered a latte, choosing a corner table with good lighting. When Penelope walked in, she was wearing jeans and a navy sweater, her blonde hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. Off-duty looked good on her. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, sliding into the opposite chair. "Sorry if this seems random." "Not random, just unexpected." She ordered black coffee, then leaned forward slightly. "I've been thinking about your crime scene photographs, the botanical evidence you capture. It's becoming more important in forensic investigations. Plants tell stories. People miss. That's what I was hoping you'd say." She pulled out a manila folder. "We have a case, 3-week-old homicide, and there's plant material at the scene that's puzzling our forensics team." I opened the folder, scanning crime scene photos. What kind of plant material? Seeds scattered around the victim, but they don't match anything native to the area. Looking at the photos, I could see why they were confused. The seeds were distinctive, elongated with a reddish coating. "These are castor beans," I said immediately. "Rhinus communis, they contain ricin, one of the most potent natural toxins." Penelope's expression shifted. "Poison very. But here's the interesting part. These beans don't grow naturally in Southern California. Someone brought them there, deliberately. Can you help us trace their origin? Absolutely. But I'd need to examine the actual specimens, not just photos. I was hoping you'd say that too." We spent the next hour discussing the case details, but I found myself watching her hands as she turned pages, noting the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when concentrating. "Focus, Margaret. So you photograph crime scenes as a hobby?" I asked when we'd covered the forensic details. It started as stress relief. Something about capturing beauty in broken places. She paused. "Your work inspired me to think differently about what beauty means." There was something in her voice, a vulnerability, that hadn't been there during our professional discussion. My ex-husband used to say my work was morbid. I admitted looking for life in places touched by death. Your ex-husband sounds like an idiot. I laughed, surprised by her directness. That's one way to put it. Was the divorce. Recent, 3 weeks ago. Same day as the photography contest. Actually, damn, that's rough timing. Best timing. Actually, fresh start and all that. We talked. For another hour, the conversation flowing from work to photography, to books, to travel. When she laughed, her whole face lit up, and I found myself wanting to keep that expression there. "I should probably head back," she finally said, checking her watch. "But about the case. I can start tomorrow. Just get me access to the evidence, perfect." She stood, then hesitated. "Margaret. Yeah, this might be crossing a line. But would you like to have dinner sometime?" "Not about the case." My heart started doing that weird rhythm. Again, a woman was asking me to dinner. A beautiful woman who made me feel things I'd never felt with Andrew. "I'd like that," I heard myself say. "Saturday, 7. "Yes." She smiled, that same expression that had caught my attention at the exhibition, and I felt something shift inside my chest as she walked away. I watched the confidence stride the way she moved through space, like she owned it. Saturday felt like a lifetime away. That evening, I called my best friend Sarah, needing to process what was happening. "So, let me get this straight," Sarah said. "You met a gorgeous female detective who wants to work with you professionally and date you personally. That's an oversimplified summary. Margaret, are you attracted to her?" The question hung in the air. Was I the racing heart? The way I kept thinking about her smile, the anticipation I felt about Saturday, I think. So, is that crazy, honey? After 10 years with Andrew, anything that makes you feel alive is the opposite of crazy. Saturday arrived, with unseasonable warmth for spring in Anaheim. I changed clothes 3 times before settling on a simple black dress and my favorite boots. When Penelope picked me up, she was wearing dark jeans and a soft green blouse that made her eyes incredible. "You look beautiful," she said. And the way she said it made me believe her dinner was at a small Italian place, downtown candlelit tables and soft jazz. We talked about everything except the case. And I discovered she had a law degree she'd never used, loved hiking, and had terrible taste in movies. "So what made you choose detective work over law?" I asked. Over dessert wanted to solve problems, not argue about them. And botanical forensics, that's pretty specialized. My dad was a Buddhist, spent my childhood in green houses learning plant names before I could spell them properly as the evening wound down. I realized I didn't want it to end when we reached my apartment. Penelope walked me to the door like this was a real date. "I had a great time," I said, fumbling. "With my keys." "So did I." She stepped closer, and suddenly we were standing very close. Her blue eyes searching mine. "Margaret." "Yeah. Can I kiss you?" My breath caught. This was it, the moment. Everything changed. "Yes." Her lips were soft, careful at first. Then, more confident when I responded, it was nothing like kissing Andrew. Nothing like any kiss I'd ever experienced when we broke apart. I was breathless. "Wow," I whispered. "Good, wow, very good. Wow." She smiled, that brilliant expression I was already addicted to. "I'll call you tomorrow about the case." As I watched her drive away, I touched my lips, still feeling the warmth of her kiss at 38 years old. I was apparently discovering things about myself I'd never known, and for the first time in years, I couldn't wait to see what happened next. Monday morning came with a text from Penelope that made my coffee taste better. Evidence room 9, Jartake. Bring your magic plant skills. The Anaheim PD building was exactly what you'd expect. Gray concrete, fluorescent lights, and the smell of burnt coffee mixed with stress sweat. Penelope met at reception, looking professional in a navy suit that somehow made her more attractive than the casual clothes from Saturday. "Ready to play detective?" she asked, leading me through security. Born ready. The evidence room was sterile white with metal shelving stretching to the ceiling. A technician named Rodriguez handed me latex gloves and a magnifying glass. "The beans were found in a circle around the victim," Penelope explained, pointing to photos pinned on a board. 12 exactly too precise to be random. I examined the specimens under proper lighting. The reddish coating was intact, which meant they were fresh. These came from a mature plant. The color pattern suggests they were harvested. Within the last month, can you trace where they came from? Possibly castor plants are regulated in California, but people still grow them. I'll need to check with local nurseries, botanical gardens. We worked side by side for 3 hours, documenting every detail. Every time Penelope leaned over my shoulder to look at something, I caught her scent. Something clean and subtle that made concentration difficult. "Coffee break?" she suggested, when my stomach growled audibly. The police station cafeteria was exactly as appetizing as expected. We grabbed sandwiches and found a quiet corner table. "So how does someone become a plant detective?" Penelope asked, unwrapping what looked like tuna on white bread. "Grad school in forensic botany at UC Davis, then 7 years with the county coroner's office before going independent, and your ex-husband. What did he think about the career choice?" The question caught me off guard. Andrew thought it was a phase, something I'd outgrow once we had kids. "But you didn't want kids." "I wanted kids, just not with him." The admission surprised me. I'd never said that out loud before. Penelope nodded slowly. "Sometimes we marry the wrong person for the right reasons. What about you? Ever been married?" "Close once. Her name was Jessica. Lasted 2 years before she decided dating a cop was too complicated her. The casual way." She said it made my chest tight. This wasn't her first relationship with a woman. This was normal for her, while I was still figuring out what the hell was happening to me. That afternoon, we visited 3 nurseries in Orange County. The third one, a family-owned place in Garden Grove, hit pay dirt. "Oh yeah, we special ordered castor bean plants last month." The owner said strange request. Most people avoid them because of the toxicity who ordered them. Penelope showed her badge. Let me check the records. He disappeared into a cluttered office, returning with a carbon copy receipt here. We go paid cash, but he left a name. Carl Walker. My blood went cold. What did he look like? Red hair, gray eyes, tall guy, maybe mid-fours. I gripped Penelope's arm without thinking. That's my brother. Your brother. Penelope's voice was carefully controlled. We haven't spoken in 5 years. Family issues after my dad died. The drive back to the station was quiet. Both of us processing this development. My brother had purchased the plants found at a murder scene. The implications were staggering. Margaret, I have to ask, when's the last time you saw Carl, my father's funeral? We had a huge fight about the inheritance. I haven't talked to him since. What kind of fight? Money, property. The usual family drama when someone dies. But even as I said it, I knew it was more complicated. Carl had always been angry, aggressive. Dad's death had brought out something darker in him that evening. Penelope insisted on cooking dinner at my apartment. You shouldn't be alone right now. Watching her move around my small kitchen, chopping vegetables with the same precision she probably used at crime scenes, felt surreal, like we were playing house while my world crumbled around us. This is really good, I said, tasting the pasta sauce. Secret ingredient is wine in the sauce and the cook. I laughed despite everything. How much wine have you had? Just enough, to be honest. She set down her fork and looked at me directly. I'm worried about you. Because of Carl. Because of everything. Divorce, new relationship, family drama. That's a lot for anyone. New relationship. The words hung between us like a question. Is that what this is? I asked quietly. I hope. So if you want it to be. I reached across the small table and took her hand. Her fingers interlaced with mine. Naturally, like they belonged there. I've never been with a woman before. I admitted I know. Does that bother you? Does this bother you? She lifted our joined hands. No, it feels... Right after dinner, we moved to the couch with wine glasses. The conversation drifted from the case to safer topics. But there was an undercurrent of tension, the kind that comes from wanting something and not being sure you should want it. Margaret, Penelope's voice was soft. Yeah, can I stay tonight on the couch? I don't like the idea of you being alone with all this. Carl stuff. You don't have to sleep on the couch. The words were out before I could stop them. Penelope's eyes searched mine, looking for certainty. You sure? I leaned forward and kissed her instead of answering. This time there was no hesitation. No careful testing. Her hand cupped the back of my neck as she deepened the kiss, and I felt something ignite in my chest when we broke apart. We were both breathing hard. Bedroom? She whispered. I nodded. Taking her hand and leading her down the short hallway, my hands were shaking as I turned on the bedside lamp, casting everything in warm golden light. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for, Penelope said, stepping closer. I want to. I'm just nervous. We'll go slow. She kissed me again, her hands gentle as they framed my face. Slowly, carefully, we discovered each other. Her skin was soft and warm, her touch patient and sure. When she whispered my name against my collarbone, I thought I might dissolve entirely. Later, lying tangled in sheets with Penelope's arm around me, I felt fundamentally changed, like I'd been living in black and white. And suddenly, discovered color. You okay? She asked, her voice drowsy against my shoulder. More than okay. Good. She pressed a kiss to my temple. Because I'm falling for you, Margaret Walker. I turned in her arms to face her, studying the blue eyes that had become so precious to me. I'm falling for you too. Outside, Anaheim continued its night rhythms, but inside my small apartment, everything had shifted. The case. My brother's involvement, The uncertainty of everything else could wait until morning, for now there was just this Penelope's warmth beside me, the steady rhythm of her breathing, and the knowledge that whatever came next, I wouldn't face it alone. The morning light streaming through my bedroom windows felt different. Everything felt different. Penelope was sprawled across 3/4 of my bed, her blonde hair spread over my pillow, like spun gold watching her sleep. I tried to process what had happened between us. I was 38 years old, recently divorced, and apparently discovering I was attracted to women, or maybe just this woman. The thought should have terrified me, but instead I felt settled, like pieces of myself had finally clicked into place. Morning, beautiful, Penelope murmured without opening her eyes. How did you know I was awake? You think very loudly. She rolled over to face me, blue eyes still drowsy regrets. None you not a damn one. We lay there grinning at each other like teenagers, until my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Coffee at Mel's Diner noon, come alone. Hey, Carl. My stomach dropped. What is it? Penelope sat up instantly alert. I showed her the message. Her expression shifted into cop mode. You're not going alone. He's my brother. He won't hurt me. Your brother bought plants found at a murder scene that changes things. We argued about it through coffee and toast, but eventually reached a compromise. She'd wait in the parking lot while I talked to Carl close enough to intervene. If needed, Mel's Diner was one of those retro places with red vinyl booths and checkered floors. Carl was already there when I arrived, looking older than his 45 years. His red hair had more gray now, and his gray eyes held something I didn't recognize Maggie. He stood to hug me, but I slid into the opposite booth instead. Carl, it's been a while. 5 years, 3 months. He signaled the waitress coffee for my sister. What do you want? Can't I want to see my only family after 5 years of silence? No. The waitress brought coffee and Carl waited until she left before leaning forward. I heard about your divorce. Sorry. It didn't work out. How did you hear about that? I keep tabs. You're all the family I have left. Something in his tone made me uncomfortable, Carl. Why are you really here? Dad's estate. There are some papers you need to sign. Dad died 5 years ago. His estate was settled. Not all of it. He pulled out a manila envelope. There's property you don't know about investment accounts. Dad was more complicated than either of us. Realized, I opened the envelope reluctantly. Legal documents, property deeds, financial statements. The numbers were staggering. This can't be real. Dad was a high school biology teacher. Dad had other interests, other income sources. What kind of income sources? Carl's eyes shifted away. Does it matter? It's ours now. Something cold settled in my stomach. Carl, what did Dad do? He used his botanical knowledge for private clients. What kind of consulting? The profitable kind. I stared at the documents, recognizing some of the plant species listed: castor beans, oleander foxglove, all highly toxic. These are poison plants. They're valuable plants to the right people. What people? Carl leaned back, studying me. People who pay well for expertise. Dad built relationships. Maggie relationships that could benefit us both. I don't want any part of this. You don't have a choice. Your name is on half these accounts. You've been involved. Whether you knew it or not, the diner felt too warm suddenly. I need air outside in the parking lot. I found Penelope leaning against her car, pretending to read a newspaper. How did it go terrible? I showed her the documents with shaking hands. My father was apparently involved in something illegal, and Carl wants me to inherit his criminal empire. Penelope scanned the papers quickly. Margaret. Some of these plants, they match evidence from unsolved cases. What are you saying? I'm saying your father might have been providing botanical expertise for murders. The words hit like a physical blow. My father, who taught me to love plants, who spent weekends in greenhouses showing me the beauty of nature, had been helping people kill. I need to go home. The drive back was silent in my apartment. I paced like a caged animal, while Penelope made phone calls to the station. When she hung up, her expression was grim. We ran the names from those documents. 3 are connected to unsolved homicides from the last decade. So Carl is what taking over the family. Business. It looks that way. I sank onto the couch, overwhelmed. I spent my career using botanical knowledge to solve crimes. My father used the same knowledge to commit them. Penelope sat beside me, taking my hand. You're not responsible for what he did, but I am involved. My name is on those accounts. Then we figure out how to get you uninvolved. You think I'm walking away from this? From you? I looked at her. This incredible woman who'd entered my life at exactly the right moment. Penelope, this could destroy your career association with a criminal investigation. Let me worry about my career that evening. We ordered Chinese food and spread the documents across my living room floor, trying to make sense of the scope of my father's activities. The more we uncovered, the worse it got. He's been consulting for criminal organizations for at least 15 years. Penelope said, highlighting names on a client list. How did I not know? Because he loved you and wanted to protect you from this part of his life. But now Carl wants me involved. Carl needs your botanical expertise to maintain the client relationships. What if I refuse? Penelope was quiet for a long moment. People who refuse to cooperate with criminal organizations tend to have accidents. The implications hung in the air between us. My brother, my only remaining family, was essentially threatening me. I should call him, tell him I'll sign the papers. No. Penelope's voice was firm. We find another way. What other way? We build a case against him, expose the whole operation. He's still my brother. He's a criminal who's trying to force you into criminal activity. I knew she was right. But the emotional reality was harder than the logical one that night, lying in bed with Penelope's arms around me. I tried to reconcile the Carl I remembered with the man I'd met today. It's okay to grieve. Penelope whispered in the darkness. You're losing your father's memory and your brother on the same day. How do you know exactly what to say? Practice. I've been where you are. I turned to face her. Your family. My father found out he'd been taking bribes when I was a rookie cop. Destroyed everything I thought I knew about him. What did you do? I arrested him. The quiet strength in her voice made me love her more. This woman understood betrayal. Understood the cost of choosing justice over family. Will you help me every step of the way? I kissed her. Then pouring all my gratitude and fear and love into the connection between us. When we made love, this time it was different. Desperate and clinging, like we were trying to hold on to something precious. In a world that kept shifting beneath our feet afterward, as Penelope traced patterns on my shoulder. I made a decision. Tomorrow we start building a case against Carl. You're sure? I'm sure. I lifted my head to look at her. I want to be the kind of person who chooses right over easy. You already are outside. Spring rain started falling against my windows, washing the day clean. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, but tonight I was exactly where I belonged. 3 days after my confrontation with Carl, I thought we had a plan. Build a case. Quietly. Gather evidence. Let the law handle my criminal family legacy. Then my apartment door exploded. Inward at 6 o'clock in the morning, I bolted upright in bed, Penelope already reaching for her service weapon on the nightstand. 3 men in black masks stormed through my living room, moving with military precision. Stay down, Penelope hissed, phone in one hand, gun in the other. But they weren't here to hurt us. They ransacked my place with surgical efficiency, targeting specific items. My father's old files, botanical reference books. Anything connected to plant identification. They knew exactly what they wanted. Police are on the way. Penelope called out. The lead intruder turned toward our bedroom, and I caught a glimpse of gray eyes through the mask. Carl's eyes. Then they were gone, vanishing as quickly as they'd appeared, taking a box of my father's research with them. You recognized one of them. Penelope said as we waited for backup. My brother, damn it. The responding officers treated it like a random break-in, until Penelope explained the connection to an ongoing investigation. Suddenly, my ransacked apartment was a crime scene complete. With evidence technicians and yellow tape, they wanted your father's research specifically. Detective Rodriguez observed photographing overturned drawers. Professional job. Too professional, Penelope muttered that afternoon while crime scene techs finished processing my apartment. Carl called you. Okay, Maggie? I heard about the break-in. His concern sounded genuine, which made it more disturbing. How did you hear about it? Police scanner old habit. Since when do you monitor police? Scanners since I started worrying about your safety. The audacity was breathtaking. He'd broken into my apartment, then called to express concern about the break-in he'd orchestrated. What do you want Carl dinner tomorrow? We need to discuss your inheritance properly. Too many interested parties. Now what interested parties? Dad's former associates. They're getting impatient about the transition. Someone has to take over his consulting work. Either you step up willingly, or they find other ways to ensure continuity. The threat was clear. Cooperate, or face consequences. We're Shah Laran, downtown, 8. I'll be there after I hung up. Penelope stared at me like I'd lost my mind. You're not seriously considering this. I need to understand what we're dealing with. We're dealing with criminals who break into apartments and threaten people. Which is why I need more information before we make any moves. Penelope paced my destroyed living room, stepping around overturned furniture. This feels like a trap. Everything feels like a trap. Now that evening, she insisted on driving me to the restaurant and waiting outside again. Chez Lauren was upscale French, the kind of place Andrew used to take clients. Carl had reserved a private dining, room and back. He wasn't alone. 2 men sat with him, both wearing expensive suits that couldn't quite hide their predatory nature. One was older, silver-haired with the kind of stillness that suggested violence. The other was younger, nervous energy, radiating from every movement. Maggie, meet my business partners, Vincent Russo and Tommy Chen. I recognized the names from my father's client files. Gentlemen, I sat across from Carl, noting the exits. Dr. Walker. Vincent's voice was cultured, refined. Your father spoke of you often. Brilliant botanical mind. He said my father and I didn't discuss his work, but you inherited his knowledge, his instincts. Tommy leaned forward eagerly. We have immediate consulting needs. 3 projects requiring botanical expertise. What kind of projects? Vincent and Carl exchanged glances. Specialized applications. Very lucrative for the right consultant. I work with law enforcement. So did your father initially. Vincent smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then he discovered more profitable collaborations. They spent 20 minutes outlining opportunities that sounded like legitimate botanical consulting, until you read between the lines. Plant identification for import businesses that didn't exist. Cultivation advice for greenhouses with no addresses. Toxicity research for pharmaceutical companies with criminal backgrounds. I need time to consider. Time is a luxury we don't have. Vincent said quietly. Recent law enforcement interest has created urgency. My blood went cold. They knew about the investigation. What law enforcement interest? Someone's been asking questions about your father's work, making inquiries about plant-related evidence in cold cases. They knew about Penelope's investigation, which meant they knew about us. I see. We're hoping your decision might influence how cooperative you become with such inquiries. The threat was explicit. Now cooperate with their criminal enterprise or face consequences, and they were threatening Penelope too. Understand, excellent, Vincent. Stood. Tommy will contact you tomorrow with project details, and Maggie. Carl's voice stopped me at the door. Make sure your new girlfriend understands the situation too. My spine went rigid. They definitely knew about Penelope. The drive home was tense. Penelope could read my expression in the car's interior light. They know about the investigation. They know about us. Damn, she pulled over, turning to face me. Margaret? This just became bigger than a family dispute. I know we need federal help, FBI, DEA. This is organized crime. And how long will that take? How long before they decide we're too much trouble? Penelope didn't answer, but we both knew the truth. We were in immediate danger with no immediate protection. Back at my apartment, we found another surprise waiting. An envelope slipped under my door containing a single photograph. Penelope leaving the police station, obviously taken with a telephoto lens. They're watching us, I whispered. Probably have been since the beginning that night. Neither of us slept well. Every sound might be another break-in. Every shadow could hide surveillance. We were trapped between criminals who wanted to use me in a legal system that moved too slowly for our immediate safety. We could run, I suggested, around 3 a.m, where they have resources. Connections running. Just makes us look guilty. Staying makes us dead. Penelope rolled over to face me in the darkness. Not if. We're smarter than them. How we give them what they want. You want me to become a criminal consultant. I want you to pretend to become one. Feed them false information while we build a real case that's incredibly dangerous, less dangerous than refusing, and ending up like that murder victim with castor beans around his body. She had a point playing along. Bought us time and evidence, but it also meant walking deeper into my father's shadow world. If we do this, we do it together every step I kissed. Her then tasting fear and determination on her lips outside dawn was breaking over Anaheim, bringing new dangers and new choices. Okay, I whispered against her mouth. Let's catch some criminals, starting with your brother. Starting with my brother. The decision felt like jumping off a cliff. But at least I wasn't jumping alone. Playing double agent wasn't as glamorous as movies made it seem. Mostly it involved sitting in my apartment with Penelope planning how to document criminal activity without getting ourselves killed. Tommy Chen called this morning. I told her over coffee. First assignment is tomorrow night. What kind of assignment? Plant identification for a warehouse in Santa Ana? They think someone's growing something they shouldn't. Penelope frowned. That's suspiciously legitimate. Maybe they're testing me, seeing if I can handle simple jobs before moving to the serious stuff. Or maybe it's a trap. Everything felt like a trap. Now we'd been living in this paranoid state for a week, jumping at every phone call, checking over our shoulders constantly. I have to go. If I flake on the first job, they'll know something's wrong. Then I'm coming with you. Penelope, you can't. It's too risky. More risky than letting you walk into unknown situations alone. We argued about it through breakfast, but she was right. I needed backup, and she was the only person I trusted completely. The warehouse was in an industrial district surrounded by auto repair shops and storage facilities. Tommy met us in the parking lot, looking nervous as always. Who's she? He eyed Penelope suspiciously. My research assistant, Dr. Morris. I thought you worked alone. Not anymore. Complex botanical work requires collaboration. Tommy didn't look convinced, but he let us inside anyway. The warehouse was mostly empty, except for a dozen large planters arranged under grow lights. The setup looked professional, expensive. Someone's been cultivating rare species. I observed, examining the plants. These are actually quite valuable for legitimate pharmaceutical research, so nothing illegal. Not unless they're planning to extract compounds without proper licensing, which they probably were. But I kept that observation to myself. Vincent wants detailed reports on species growth stages, potential yields. Tommy said. Can you handle that? Absolutely. Penelope played her role perfectly. Taking notes and photographs, while I documented each plant to anyone watching. We looked like legitimate botanical consultants. The drive home was quiet, until Penelope spoke. Suddenly, those weren't random plants. What do you mean, the species selection? Someone chose varieties, specifically for alkaloid content. That's not coincidental. She was right. The plants were all high in compounds, useful for drug manufacturing or toxin extraction. So they are making drugs or poisons or both. Back at my apartment, I typed up the report Tommy wanted while Penelope called her contacts at the DEA. If we were going to gather evidence against this operation, we needed federal partners who could actually do something with the information Agent Martinez wants to meet, she announced after hanging up tomorrow afternoon. Can we trust him? He's worked organized crime for 15 years. If anyone can help us, it's him. That night, Carl called again. Vincent was impressed with your work today. It was straightforward plant identification. Next week's assignment won't be so straightforward. What is it? Consultation on extraction methods. Maximizing alkaloid yield. From botanical sources, my stomach sank. They were definitely manufacturing drugs, and they wanted my expertise to improve their operation. Carl, this isn't what Dad would have wanted. Dad built this network. Maggie, he understood the value of specialized knowledge. He understood right from wrong. Right and wrong are luxuries for people who don't have bills to pay. After I hung up, Penelope found me staring out my bedroom window at the lights of Anaheim. Second thoughts about which part infiltrating, my criminal family, or falling in love with a cop either. Both. I turned to face her. No second thoughts about falling in love with you. Good, because I'm pretty attached to this relationship. She stepped closer, and I could see worry in her blue eyes, despite her casual tone. What about the other part? The criminal infiltration thing. Terrifying but necessary. We could still walk away. Let the FBI handle it and spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. No thanks. The next afternoon, Agent Martinez met us at a nondescript coffee shop near the federal building. He was younger than I'd expected, with the kind of intense focus that suggested he'd seen too much. Too young. Detective Morris briefed me on your situation. This is bigger than local organized crime. How big? Your father's network has connections. In 6 states. Botanical consulting. For drug manufacturing, poison production. Even exotic plant smuggling. And my brother's taken over operations. Your brother's trying to. But he doesn't have your father's expertise, which is why they need you. Martinez spread photographs across our table. Crime scenes, warehouse raids, arrest photos. The scope was staggering. We've been tracking this organization for 2 years. Your cooperation could help us shut down the entire operation. What do you need from us? Evidence, documentation, recordings if possible, and in return, protection, new identities if necessary. Whatever it takes to keep you safe. The offer was reassuring, but federal protection felt like another kind of prison that evening. Penelope cooked dinner, while I processed everything Martinez had told us. The organization was larger, more dangerous, and more sophisticated than we'd realized. You're thinking too loud again, Penelope said, setting down plates of pasta. Just processing. Want to share. Remember when our biggest concern was whether I was ready to date a woman? She laughed. Simpler times. Like a week ago, I keep thinking about my father, trying to understand how he got involved in this. People make choices for complicated reasons. What if I make the same choices? What if there's something in me that's drawn to the wrong side? Penelope sat down her fork and looked at me seriously. Margaret, you've spent your career helping solve crimes. You're risking your life to expose criminals. You're nothing like whatever your father became. How can you be sure? Because I know you. I know your heart that night, as we lay in bed planning the next phase of our operation. I tried to hold on to her certainty tomorrow would bring new dangers, new moral compromises. Penelope. Yeah, when this is over, will you still want this us? She turned to face me in the darkness. Margaret Walker. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever happens, wherever this leads, we're in it together. Promise. Promise. I kissed her, then trying to memorize the taste of her lips, the warmth of her skin against mine outside. Thunder rumbled across Orange County, promising rain. Storm's coming, Penelope murmured against my neck. It's already here. But wrapped in her arms, I felt ready to weather whatever came next. Tomorrow I'd continue pretending to help criminals while actually gathering evidence to destroy them. Tonight I had this perfect moment with the woman I loved. It would have to be enough to sustain us through the darkness ahead. The second assignment came 3 days later. Vincent wanted me to analyze botanical compounds for maximum therapeutic extraction translation. Help them make drugs more potent. This is it. I told Penelope, as we prepared the recording equipment Agent Martinez had given us, if we can document this meeting, we'll have enough evidence to take down the entire operation. And if they discover the wire, then we pray federal backup arrives quickly. The meeting was at a different warehouse. This one equipped with a sophisticated chemistry lab. Vincent and Carl were waiting with 2 men. I didn't recognize, both wearing lab coats over expensive suits. Dr. Walker, meet our extraction specialists. They need guidance on maximizing alkaloid yields from specific botanical sources. I examined their setup with growing horror. Industrial-grade extraction equipment, centrifuges, crystallization chambers. This was an amateur hour. What compounds are you targeting? Morphine analogies from poppy variants, cocaine derivatives, from cocoa alternatives. We're looking for legal plant sources that provide similar effects. Smart, they were trying to skirt drug laws by using botanical sources that weren't specifically scheduled. I'll need to see your current process for the next 2 hours. I documented their operation while secretly recording everything. The scope was breathtaking. They were producing enough synthetic drugs to supply most of Southern California. Your expertise could triple our efficiency, one of the chemists explained. Certain plant modifications, selective breeding for higher alkaloid content. I agreed, playing my role very possible with the right botanical knowledge. Carl beamed with pride. See, I told you Maggie was the key to expanding operations after the meeting. Vincent pulled me aside. We have a problem. My blood froze. What kind of problem? Law enforcement is getting close. Someone's been feeding them information about our activities. Do you know who? We have suspicions. That detective girlfriend of yours has been asking very specific questions. Penelope is investigating a murder case. The castor bean evidence. The castor beans that came from plants. Your brother purchased. Interesting coincidence. Vincent's smile was predatory. We need assurance that your personal relationships won't compromise our business arrangements. What kind of assurance information? If Detective Morris is building a case against us, we need advanced warning. You want me to spy on my girlfriend. We want you to protect your family interests. The ultimatum was clear. Betray Penelope, or face consequences. I'll see what I can learn. Excellent. Oh, and Margaret, we've arranged additional security for. You can't have our new botanical consultant in danger. Translation. Surveillance. They were watching us constantly now. The drive home felt endless. Penelope was waiting with takeout Chinese and questions. How did it go? They want me to spy on you. I told her everything while we ate cold noodles and planned our next move, the recording. Equipment had captured detailed evidence of drug manufacturing, but Vincent's suspicions complicated everything. We need to accelerate the timeline, Penelope said. Get this information to Martinez tonight. They're watching us, probably listening. 2. We conducted the rest of our conversation in writing passing notes like high school students. The situation was deteriorating rapidly that night. Andrew called for the first time in months. Margaret, it's Andrew. What do you want? I'm worried about. Someone approached me asking questions about your family. What kind of questions? About your father's work, your brother's activities. They seemed to think I might have information about botanical research. My ex-husband was now being questioned. By criminals, the danger was spreading to everyone connected to me. What did you tell them? Nothing. I don't know anything about your family's business. Good, stay away from this. Andrew, Margaret, what have you gotten involved in? Nothing that concerns you anymore. After I hung up Penelope, and I sat in worried silence, the criminal organization was expanding their investigation, reaching out to anyone who might have information about their operations. They're getting desperate, she observed. Desperate people make dangerous decisions. The next morning brought worse news. Agent Martinez called with an update that made my stomach drop. We need to move faster. Intelligence suggests the organization is planning to eliminate potential witnesses. What does that mean? It means you. And Detective Morris are in immediate danger. How immediate? Pack a bag, we're moving you to a safe house today. But even as Martinez spoke, I was watching a black SUV park across from my apartment building. The same SUV that had been there yesterday. And the day before. I think it's too late for safe houses. Through my window, I could see men in the vehicle, one talking on a phone while watching my building. Penelope. I called softly. She joined me at the window, her expression grim. Time to go. We grabbed essential items, and my father's remaining research stuffing everything into overnight bags. The back exit led to an alley, but we had no way of knowing if it was being watched. Too ready as I'll ever be. We slipped out through the buildings. Rear entrance moving quickly through the maze of alleys behind downtown Anaheim. My phone rang constantly, but I didn't dare answer. Where do we go? I asked as we reached Penelope's car 2 blocks away. Martine has a backup location somewhere. They won't think to look. The safe house was actually a cabin in the San Bernardino Mountains. An hour's drive through winding roads by the time we arrived. Evening was falling over the pine trees. How long do we stay here until Martinez can coordinate arrests? Maybe a week in hiding while federal agents dismantled the criminal network my father had helped create. A week to process everything that had happened in the last month. That night, lying in the cabin's single bed with Penelope's arms around me, I finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of betrayal. My whole family is gone, I whispered in the darkness. Your father loved you. Whatever he did, he kept you away from it, and Carl made his choices. I'm going to have to testify against him. Yes, I'm going to destroy what's left of my family. You're going to save lives by stopping criminals. Penelope's conviction helped steady my own resolve in the morning. I'd call Martinez and agree to testify against Carl Vincent and everyone else in the organization tonight. I grieved for the family I thought I had, and celebrated the love I'd actually found. No regrets. Penelope asked, echoing our conversation from that first morning together, about falling in love with you. Never about everything else. Ask me after the trial. She laughed softly against my shoulder. I love you, Margaret Walker. I love you too. Outside, mountain wind moved through pine trees, carrying the scent of clean air and new possibilities. Tomorrow we'd begin the process of bringing down the criminal empire my father had built. But tonight, we had this perfect moment of peace before the final storm. The arrests happened at dawn. 2 weeks later, Martinez called while Penelope and I were drinking coffee on the cabin's small deck, watching sunlight filter through pine trees. It's over, Vincent, Carl, and 12 others in custody. Your testimony was key to the warrants. I closed my eyes, feeling a strange mix of relief and loss. My brother would never speak to me again, but dozens of potential victims were safe. What happens now? You're free to go home. Clean slate. New start. The drive back to Anaheim felt surreal after 2 weeks in hiding. My apartment looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. I was no longer Margaret Walker, former wife and reluctant criminal. I was Margaret Walker, federal witness and woman in love. Think they'll all stay in prison? I asked Penelope as we unpacked with your evidence. Vincent's looking at 20 years minimum. Carl, probably. A 15, good. I meant it. Whatever love I'd once felt for my brother had died the moment he threatened Penelope's life that evening. Martinez stopped by with final paperwork and updates. The organization is completely dismantled. Your father's network, such as it was, no longer exists. And the botanical consulting business legitimate research institutions are already reaching out your reputation for ethical work. Preceded all this drama after he left Penelope, and I celebrated with expensive wine and Chinese takeout. The normally felt strange after weeks of constant danger. So what now? She asked, curled against me on the couch. Now we figure out what our life looks like without criminals trying to kill us. Any ideas? A few. I'd been thinking about this for days. What I wanted, what we wanted, What was possible? Now that we were free. I got a job offer. You see, Irvine wants a forensic botany consultant full-time. With research opportunities, that's amazing. You'd love university work. There's a catch, it's in Irvine 40 minutes from here. So we moved to Irvine. The casualness of her response made my heart skip. Unless you're planning to get rid of me now. The excitement's over. I kissed her, instead of answering, pouring months of fear and love and gratitude into the contact between us when we broke apart. We were both breathless. Never getting rid of you? Good, because I have news too. What kind of news? I got promoted. Detective sergeant, more money, better cases, flexible schedule. Penelope? That's incredible. It means I can work anywhere in the county, including Irvine. The pieces were falling into place. New jobs, new city, new life together that night. Making love felt different, less desperate, more celebratory. We had time now, space to explore each other without fear. When Penelope whispered my name against my throat, it sounded like a promise. I love the sound of that, I murmured afterward, tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. What sound my name in your voice, Margaret? She said it deliberately, smiling. Margaret Walker, brilliant scientist and federal witness. Penelope Morris, detective sergeant and woman who saved my life. We saved each other. She was right. Whatever had happened between us wasn't rescue. It was collaboration. Two women finding each other at exactly the right moment. A month later, we moved into a small house in Irvine, with a yard perfect for botanical specimens. Penelope's photography equipment filled one bedroom while my research materials claimed the garage. Think we have enough plants? She asked, surveying the dozen specimens I'd arranged on the back patio. We're just getting started. UC Irvine was everything I'd hoped. Research opportunities, graduate students, funding for projects that mattered. My first assignment involved developing botanical protocols for cold case investigations. Dr. Walker, a graduate student, knocked on my office door. The police are here about that evidence analysis. Detective Rodriguez from Anaheim PD was waiting in the hallway, looking uncomfortable. Margaret, good to see you. How's the university life? Wonderful. What can I do for you? Cold case. 15-year-old homicide with botanical evidence. Thought you might want to consult. Working with law enforcement. Felt natural, comfortable, like coming home to work. That mattered. That evening I told Penelope about the case over dinner. Rodriguez specifically requested you, he said. I have a reputation for ethical consulting. You've rehabilitated the Walker family name in forensic circles. We rehabilitated it. 6 months into our new life, Penelope surprised me with a weekend trip to San Francisco for our anniversary of what I asked as we checked into a hotel overlooking the bay. First kiss, 1 year ago. This weekend I'd lost track of time. But she was right. A full year since that photography contest changed everything. A year of criminals, federal investigations, and falling in love. Don't forget great sex. I laughed, pulling her closer. How could I forget that night dinner at a quiet restaurant overlooking the water? We talked about the future with a freedom that still felt new. I want to write a book, I announced over dessert, about botanical forensics, about everything, the case, the investigation, finding love in the middle of chaos. Think anyone would read it? I think our story might inspire women who are discovering things about themselves later in life. Penelope reached across the table to take my hand. I love that idea. What about you? Any dreams for our second year? A few. Maybe learn to cook something besides pasta. Get back into hiking, photography. Buy a house with a real dark room, all achievable goals. One more thing. What? She pulled a small velvet box from her jacket pocket and my heart stopped. Penelope. Margaret Walker, brilliant scientist, federal witness woman who turned my world upside down in the best possible way. Will you marry me? The ring was perfect. Simple platinum with a small diamond that caught restaurant light like captured stars. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Yes. She slipped the ring on my finger with hands that shook slightly, and I realized she'd been nervous about my answer. Did you think I'd say no? I thought you might need time to process. It's been a big year. It's been the best year of my life. The flight home was spent planning a small ceremony guest list consisting of other law enforcement couples and university colleagues. Nothing elaborate, just legal protection for the life we'd already built. My father would have liked you, I told Penelope as Orange County lights spread below us. How can you be sure because you make me happy? That would have mattered to him more than anything else. A year ago, I'd been divorced, lonely and unknowingly connected to criminal activity. Now I was engaged, professionally fulfilled, and completely in love. No regrets? Penelope asked, echoing our old question. Not a damn one. Good, because I'm planning to keep you for about 50 years. 50 years sounds perfect. Outside the airplane window, California stretched toward our future full of possibilities. We were just beginning to explore. 1 year later, I stood in our backyard garden watching Penelope adjust her camera settings, trying to capture morning light filtering through the botanical specimens we'd cultivated together. The irony wasn't lost on me. We both started photographing crime scenes as therapy, and now we created beauty deliberately. The light's perfect on those foxglove blooms, she called out, not looking up from her viewfinder. Careful with those, they're still toxic enough to kill someone. Good thing I'm not planning to eat them. Our life had settled into routines that felt miraculous after everything we'd survived. University work, police cases, weekend photography expeditions to document wildflowers in their natural habitats, normal problems like whose turn it was to buy groceries and whether we needed new living room furniture. Mail's here. Penelope announced, returning from the front yard with a stack of letters and packages. She handed me an envelope that made my stomach clench. Orange. County Superior Court. Carl's sentencing hearing was scheduled for next week. You don't have to go, Penelope said, reading my expression. I know, but part of me needed to see it finished to look my brother in the eye. Won, last time, and know I'd chosen correctly. The hearing was anticlimactic. Carl received 18 years for drug trafficking conspiracy and attempted intimidation of federal witnesses. He looked older, grayer, diminished in his orange jumpsuit when our eyes met across the courtroom. There was no recognition, no family connection, just resentment and regret. Feel better? Penelope asked as we walked back to our car. Feel finished. That afternoon, my university office phone rang with a number I recognized but hadn't expected. Dr. Walker, this is Detective Sarah Chen, LAPD. I have a case I'm hoping you can consult on. What kind of case? Multiple homicide victims found surrounded by botanical evidence. Someone's using plant toxins systematically sounds familiar. That's why I called your reputation for solving botanical crimes is spreading. I looked out my office window at students crossing campus, living normal lives without criminal conspiracies or family betrayals. Send me the files. I'll review them tonight because this was who I was now. Margaret Walker, forensic botanist who used her expertise to solve crimes instead of commit them. The work felt like redemption. That evening, I spread crime scene photographs across our dining room table while Penelope cooked dinner. The botanical evidence was sophisticated. Deliberate, someone with serious knowledge was targeting specific victims. New case, she asked, setting. Down plates of salmon and vegetables. Multiple homicide in Los Angeles, botanical poisoning gang related unknown. But the killer has advanced botanical knowledge. We spent dinner analyzing crime scene patterns, falling back into the investigative collaboration that had brought us together. It felt natural, comfortable, like speaking a language we'd invented together. I could drive up with you tomorrow. Penelope offered coordinate with LAPD. Share our experience with botanical crime networks. You do that, partner. I'd follow you anywhere. Even to another crime scene. The word partner still gave me butterflies. Professional partner life. Partner, investigative team, married couple. All the definitions applied. Now the next morning's drive to Los Angeles gave us time to discuss strategy and plans for our future. The book I'd started writing was gaining interest from publishers. Penelope's crime scene photography had caught attention from forensic journals. think we'll always work cases. Together? She asked, as downtown LA skyline came into view. I hope so. Good at this team thing. Good at the marriage thing, too. Getting better every day. The LAPD meeting was productive. 3 victims all killed with different plant toxins, all connected. To a pharmaceutical research company, the killer was targeting people with access to botanical research. Eliminating witnesses to something bigger feels like our old case. I told Detective Chen, same pattern of using botanical expertise for criminal purposes. Any suggestions? Look for someone with advanced botanical training who recently lost access to legitimate research. Fired researcher, expelled graduate student, someone with grievance against the pharmaceutical industry. By evening, we had a profile and 3 suspects in custody. The case would take weeks to fully resolve, but the immediate danger was over. Successful day, Penelope observed as we drove home through Orange County. Twilight. Successful year. Successful life. She was right. 12 months ago, I'd been signing divorce papers and entering photography contests to fill empty weekend hours. Now I was married to my best friend, pursuing meaningful work and using my expertise to help instead of harm. No regrets. I asked our old question, taking on new meaning about marrying you. Never about leaving Anaheim PD for consulting work, about following you wherever your botanist brain takes us. Never. 6 months later, our book Botanical Evidence, Love and Crime in Modern Forensics was published to positive reviews and strong sales. The story of 2 women finding love while exposing criminal conspiracies resonated with readers beyond law enforcement circles. Listen to this review. Penelope called from the couch, reading from her tablet. Walker and Morris prove that truth is stranger than fiction, and love really can bloom anywhere, even at crime scenes. Especially at crime scenes. That evening, we attended the annual Orange County Photography Exhibition, entering as a married couple. This time, my botanical crime scene series had evolved to include living plants, hope growing from tragedy. Penelope's urban decay work now captured beauty in abandoned places, rather than just documenting darkness. Think we'll win again? She asked, straightening my entry placard. Don't care. Already won everything that matters. The exhibition opening was crowded with local artists, weekend photographers, and curious community members standing next to our combined work. I marveled at how far we'd traveled from that first awkward conversation. 13 months ago, Margaret Walker. I turned to find a young woman, maybe 25, studying my photographs intently. I'm Sarah. I'm a graduate student studying forensic science. Your work inspired me to consider botanical specialization. It's incredible. Field growing rapidly. Can I ask you a personal question? Sure. How did you know you were ready for such a big life change, career shift, new relationship? Everything. I looked at Penelope, who was discussing camera techniques with another photographer, and felt the same certainty I'd experienced from our first coffee date. I didn't know, I just trusted that some risks are worth taking. Even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared. The best things in my life happened because I was brave enough to be terrified later, walking to our car under California stars. Penelope took my hand. Good advice. You gave that student learn from experience any more life wisdom to share just one thing. Sometimes the most important cases aren't the ones we solve professionally. Sometimes they're the mysteries we solve about ourselves. Deep thoughts. Dr. Walker, I have my moments. Detective Morris at home. We made love with the easy familiarity of women who chosen each other deliberately, completely afterward, lying in our bed surrounded by the life we'd built together. I felt profoundly grateful. Penelope, Thank you for what? For seeing possibilities I couldn't see, for following me into danger, for loving me exactly as I am. Thank you for being brave enough to change everything outside. Spring rain began falling on our garden, nourishing the plants we'd carefully cultivated. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new challenges, new opportunities to use our expertise for good. But tonight, I had everything I'd never known I wanted: meaningful work, true partnership, and love that had grown from the most unlikely soil. The forensic botanist in me appreciated the metaphor. Sometimes the most beautiful things bloom in the most unexpected places,